Have a seat on your porcelain throne. It's time to talk some shit on the Powell Movement.
Welcome to the Powell Movement. I'm your host, Mike Powell, and I'm still in total shock that I no longer have my wife by my side. I've been such an emotional wreck lately. I find myself crying all the time, and when I start crying, I can't stop. It's like a faucet opens up and my tears come pouring out. It's this whole grief thing. I've never experienced anything like it. It's like my partner in life, Ange, is frozen in time at 42 years old, and Keaton and I are left to put the pieces back together and figure out our lives. And that was never the plan. I was supposed to grow old with Ange, and now I'm not going to be able to get to do that. And I feel cheated out of a big part of my life. I find myself waking up every day, and when Ange was sick, I'd wake up and I'd forget about everything for a minute. I'd wake up, I'd feel good, it seemed like life was great, and then after 30 seconds, I'd remember that she had cancer, and it was like, holy shit, our life totally sucks. Now I wake up, and I'm in tears the second I look over and I don't see Ange next to me. So that's when it hits me, right when I get up and look over, and then I'm stuck in my house working all day, which is a place that I spent every minute of every day for nearly the past 3 years with Ange. And before the past 3 years, before this whole cancer shit started, we worked together from home for 7 years. So it was like we were always together. We spent so much time together. And now we don't spend any time together. It's so hard. And then, to add insult to injury, my computer shit the bed and died like a week after Ange died. So when I put up the podcast last week and I started doing everything, I had to do it all on her computer. And talk about a mindfuck. Sure, I was able to set up her computer, but in the process, I spent 3 full days going through everything on her computer, which was even more soul-crushing. I mean, death is always hard, but when it's your partner, it's another level that I hope none of you ever have to experience, especially when they're young. I know that after going through this, I'm never really going to be the same person again. I loved Ange so much, and I told her I loved her all the time, but I wish I really let her know that and feel that more. I wish I did more, and it's after the fact that you're like, fuck, I wish I did more. It's like I almost took it for granted that I had her by my side, and that's a shame. But she knew I loved her. And I will say, if you knew Ange, she was fucking awesome, and she loved a great party. So I'm going to throw her 3 parties in August, and here's what you need to know about them. Friday, August 22nd, will be a private dinner for family and friends, so most likely you're not going to be invited to that one, but I'm sorry about that. We have a limited number. On Saturday, the 23rd, it is going to be an epic karaoke night in West Seattle. Ange loved karaoke, and we are going to have so much fun at the Admiral Benbow in West Seattle. I think it's going to start around 7. It's going to go till 2 a.m., and we are going to party our faces off that night. And then Sunday is going to be the celebration of life. That will be a more limited number of people that will be going, and we will get you that information and put stuff online very soon. But if you know you should attend, please make your travel plans now. Those dates, August 22nd through 24th, are set in stone. And when the memorial ends on August 24th, well, we're encouraging everybody to go out to a bar afterwards because Ange's birthday is August 25th. So I want to be out at midnight to toast her for her 43rd birthday, or what would have been her 43rd birthday. Well, that's enough about my terrible life for now. I'm going to continue to share what's going on in my personal life moving forward because for some reason over the past 3 years, sharing in this podcast and in these intros has really helped me out. Because when I see my friends and I start talking to them, I start crying a lot and I don't like doing that in public. So using this as a forum has been very helpful for me. So thank you for dealing with all the shit that I talk in the beginning about my terrible life. But now it's time to get to the episode this week, and Bas van Steenbergen is part racer, part freerider who oozes style when he rides, and he has been doing it at the top level for over a decade. His story is awesome, and before we get into it, I want to thank all of you for the messages of love and the invites to stay and all the nice things that have come out of this tragedy. Tons of you have sent food, messages, everything. It's really, really overwhelming, and while I'm really not ready to talk to people or visit, I hope I'm ready soon. I know I'm going to be starting next week with Ange's old therapist, and then I'm joining a grief group, so I'm trying to do things to get myself better, but I just need to start, and that will happen soon. I also want to thank everybody who sent in messages of love and people who've donated to the GoFundMe and shared the GoFundMe. Thank you for that. It's greatly appreciated. What's also appreciated is you telling a friend about the show, reviewing me wherever you listen, and please, please, please support the incredible sponsors who make this show happen. They are Elan Skis, Outdoor Research, Stanley, Best Day Brewing, and Liquid Force. Now, it's time to talk with Bas van Steenbergen. I saw you last at the Mark Abma Outdoor Research Party. I think it was in like December-ish or somewhere like that. First, have you ever been on any adventures with Abma?
I have not. No, I'd love to, though. That'd be cool.
So I think you could probably push OR for maybe one of those crossover things because like you grew up with a lot of snow in your background, right?
No, not at all, actually. I grew up in Holland, so not too
Didn't you
much
guys have a
snow.
place at Silver Star?
We did have that for a bit. Yeah, that's true.
But I guess that's not growing up for you. I'm thinking Tom maybe had that a little bit longer than you, but you didn't move over from Holland until you were 16. But still, I want to talk about snow a little bit because it is a big part of this podcast. And your background in bike is, you do a lot of race. Was there ever any racing on your skis or snowboard, or was that all about fun?
No, that was all about fun. I want to do a bank slalom at some point. I feel like that'd be super fun just because it's like kind of similar to what I do on a bike. Obviously, it would be quite different. Or like a border cross event. I feel like either of those two would be pretty sweet to do. But yeah, I'd definitely be stoked to do some crossover stuff. I've been getting way more into the snowboarding like the last year. So yeah, it'd be sick.
Well, we have so many bank slaloms here in Washington State. Obviously, there's the legendary bank slalom, but then Mission Ridge has one, the Summit at Snoqualmie. I don't know if they have one or not, but everybody seems to have one and they're popping up more and more. And there's so many different levels. So they probably have a category for pro bikers that are okay snowboarders, which is probably your category, I would think.
Yeah. Pro bikers that think that they're way better at snowboarding than they really are and will probably get humbled when they show up to a contest.
Well, it's always good to get humbled in life here and there. What's your snow highlight in life if you have one?
I've been cat skiing a couple times, and those were probably the snow highlights. We were on opening day of one of the days, and I think there was like 70 fresh centimeters or something ridiculous. So that one might be hard to beat.
Yeah, and the camaraderie of a good crew in one of those cats is a pretty good vibe, especially when you have a lot of snow. It's a lot of stokes and high fives.
For sure. Yeah. I'd love to. Like, I feel like I'm like starting to get to the point in my career that I have a little bit more time in the winter, like not quite as much training in the Southern Hemisphere and all that. So it'd be cool to kind of get all my Avi certifications and all that stuff and do some more backcountry stuff. It'd be super fun.
Nice. Well, it would sound like you'd have the perfect life then, a nice little balance, the yin and the yang. But this isn't about snow. That season's over. Before we talk about your bike career, I want to talk about the bike industry. Because when I started this podcast 9 years ago-ish, the bike world seemed like a very healthy place. It was one where every retailer and manufacturer, they'd always complain about margins, but that's all what they would complain about at that point. And then the pandemic hit, and the shops couldn't buy enough bikes, and bikes were flying out the doors, and everything was good. The marketers were great because they couldn't keep product in. Everybody was doing great. 3 years out of the pandemic, what's the state of the bike world?
That's pretty rough. Or it's certainly the worst I've seen it throughout my whole career. And yeah, no, it's pretty nuts. Like lots of bike companies shutting down. And I guess numbers are down, but I think the main factor was kind of that a lot of people over ordered after the crazy bike boom of COVID. And then stock just wasn't moving anymore. So yeah, it's been kind of crazy. It's been nuts seeing like, other pro athletes not being able to survive off of just riding anymore. And yeah, it's nuts. I'm hoping that it's kind of like back on the up and up now, but it kind of seems like maybe we have a little bit more turbulent times ahead of us. Obviously, it's pretty crazy times just in general right now, but definitely crazy in the bike world.
I mean, when the pandemic was happening and bikes started flying out the door, because at first there was a pause, everybody was scared. And then everybody was like, holy shit, we're going to sell more than we ever thought possible. And there's like problems with getting bike parts and stuff like that. When everybody's just printing money, were you experiencing more events and more people putting money into riders and all kinds of things happening because the gravy train's happening in the bike industry?
I don't know if it ever really came all the way to the athletes. It was an interesting time. Like some companies definitely handled it great because there was obviously a ton of uncertainty coming into the pandemic of what was going to happen.
Did you get dropped
So
by
I think
anybody?
I did not get dropped by anybody, but I did get a couple of contracts that got amended, which I now know that if you're a big company, you can just change somebody's contract and there's not much they can do about it, which was, yeah, there's like definitely some interesting things like that
Where people
happening.
just tell you what's happening? Hey, Bass, this is what's happening. And you either accept it or you pay like 20 grand just to lose in court.
Exactly. Yeah. Pretty much. It was pretty wild. But obviously, like everybody that I still ride for now, they were all great through the pandemic and they didn't lower any of the contracts or anything like that. But yeah, surprisingly, the contracts didn't really go up a ton after the pandemic. And I guess, like, to be fair, it was still a somewhat of an uncertain time. Like, people were just like trying to figure out like what was going to be the case, like if this was going to be like an always thing, which obviously it ended up not being. But yeah, it was just a crazy time in general. Like, for sure, more events were happening, which was awesome. But I think companies were just so swamped with trying to figure out how to get more stock and more inventory that they could sell through, that I think had that boom lasted maybe another year or two, then it like we would have seen some increases in pay and some more events and stuff like that. But I think it was just too short for them to catch up and for it to trickle down to the riders.
So when that cliff happens and everybody realizes, oh shit, we're screwed as an industry, do riders start talking and you just kind of see the attrition of like riders falling off left and right and you're kind of almost worrying at first until you either get the email or phone call like we're going to amend or you're okay, but you realize that you're safe?
Yeah, yeah, it was nuts. I think, yeah, you just like kind of hear through the grapevine at first. You're like, oh, I heard like this and this company isn't doing so well. And I think the craziest thing was just seeing companies, like big companies, shutting down or like going bankrupt and them getting bought up. And
Who's the
uh,
biggest surprise from you as a rider's
um,
perspective?
I guess Rocky Mountain was a pretty big surprise for
Yeah.
me. That was a pretty wild one. And then Kona as well, which I feel like Kona was kind of a cool story in the end with the original owners buying it back, I believe.
Yeah.
But yeah, those two were probably the bigger ones for me, just because, like, I don't know, like BC brands as well, or maybe Kona's Bellingham, I'm not sure. But yeah, that was nuts. But you slowly start hearing about it, and then like you see some riders getting dropped, and you hear of some people getting dropped by certain sponsors or their pay getting cut. And yeah, I was pretty lucky through it all. And I've had like some pretty long term relationships, which probably helps with that. But yeah, it's a pretty crazy time.
And when you think of the brands that pay you today, who are the people that support your riding?
I got Hyper Bikes. They're like my frame sponsor. Then Outdoor Research for gear, which that has been awesome. That's been the last 2 years now. Then Deity Components. I've been with them for 12 years now, I think.
Dang.
Shimano, Maxis, and then I have my own company, Random, which is eyewear.
And so
So
that's a solid list. When was the last time you really had to work a real job or work a job just to supplement your income?
right, I guess I think I've been doing it like full time professionally for about 10 years now. So it's been a while.
So did you have to dirtbag it in the beginning, like working in winter and stuff like that, and then just traveling all summer?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, you just work and then I mean, I was kind of lucky too. I didn't have to follow like the full on race circuit to kind of get to the point where I was getting paid. I was just kind of like doing the smaller races and then I kind of like got my name out more through videos than results at first, which is a little bit more cost effective because you can just make them literally around where you live. So I didn't have to like go work in the mines or anything like that to afford to be able to travel or anything like that. It would be kind of like maybe one Europe trip or two, which is a lot of money when you're younger, but yeah, it wasn't too crazy. I was super lucky the way that it kind of like slowly snowballed into more and more of a thing.
And then when you think about your whole bike career, I mean, with bike pros, there's like a few levels to me. I feel like there's like the ones that have to work winters, which you graduated from. Then there's the ones that don't have to work, but you know, they're paying rent and doing whatever. Then there's other people that have a cool place they're renting in a big truck. And then like the top level is the dudes that own a sick place, have the big truck, and then have a full on compound of like dirt in their backyard. Where do you fit in there? Were you able to buy a house with bike money?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess I do have a house and I do have some jumps in the yard.
Okay.
So yeah, pretty stoked on that. That's definitely been like a pretty crazy dream that's come true.
But that's the dream for all bikers, I feel like. I mean, sure, you want to get covers and have a great video part and this and that. But at the end of the day, if you can have a sick compound at your house where you could ride every day, like that trumps everything almost.
Yeah, yeah, and it just makes the job easier too. Like I can literally go build whatever in the yard and film it and do whatever on it. We did an outdoor research shoot out here 2 years ago, kind of like right when all that started. So that was awesome. And then, yeah, just like for training and stuff too, it's been super helpful. Like I can just roll into the yard and I have like a gate that I can do gate starts on, and I got a little slalom track, and yeah, just kind of have everything that I need right here. It's pretty crazy. It's honestly pretty nuts having all of it here.
So you've got all that, but then you travel and see probably other compounds, I'm sure, and people are inviting different crews to their place. Who has the sickest compound that you've seen where you're just like, oh my God, this is crazy?
There's quite a few cool ones out there. I guess the craziest one is probably Matt McDuff. He lives in Kamloops and he's got just like massive jumps. Like I think, I don't know, he's working on like 100-foot jump now, but I think the main line is like a 70-foot jump or whatever with a bunch of massive jumps around it. And then my brother's got a pretty crazy compound with just like circus features everywhere. Yeah, there's definitely more out there, but those are kind of the ones that come to mind.
Okay, and then back to the bike world and how it's changed in like the past decade. When I started this podcast, it was all about like full length movies. It was kind of like the end of the big free ride entertainment movies from what I saw. And
Mm.
athlete projects were really unique. Like if you saw an athlete project, it was Danny McCaskill like riding across tennis nets, shit like that. But it was like also maybe not circus tricks, but it was different stuff that you didn't see. But now it feels like the movies have phased out and it's all personal projects. Is that kind of how the sports have gone?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And even like the personal projects, they're becoming shorter and shorter and more just about social media, which is a bit of a shame. And maybe that's just me being older and like having experienced the movies and stuff like that. But I loved when like a new movie come out and like you're all excited about it and you're like, oh right, this rider's in it, blah blah blah. Like there's still a little bit of that, but yeah, it'd be cool if it made a bit of a comeback. I'm not sure if it will or not, but yeah, it's definitely died off quite a bit, unfortunately.
I mean, when you think about the time when you're younger and these movies are coming out, say you're 16 years old in Canada and the latest free ride entertainment movies shot like right in your backyard, who were the guys that you looked up to back then?
I mean, a lot of the racers I was looking up to for sure, like Stevie Smith at the time. That was awesome, just like having a Canadian guy winning races. And he was also in the movies.
Yeah.
And then like the Athertons were huge. Brendan Fairclough was massive. And then like, yeah, the free ride guys like Semenuk and Sorgi and Zinc and like all of those guys were just, yeah, heroes. It was pretty cool.
And in your career, I mean, you did get to film real movie parts, right? Or did you come in at the end of that?
I kind of came in at the end of it. I've done some smaller projects or like just not full length movie projects with like Freeride and Anthill and companies like that. But yeah, never actually got to film much of a like a real segment on my own, which is kind of still a bit of a bucket list. We'll see if that one happens. But that's kind of the last remaining unchecked box in my like career bucket list, I think.
I mean, in bucket lists with careers, another thing that's changed too is print. Print was all around when you started out, or at least it was there. And I would think something on the bucket list, maybe for you, was a cover. Did you ever get a cover?
Yeah, I think I got 2 covers, so did get those, which is cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much, I don't even know. Like, I guess that's actually gone now, which is too bad. Maybe like Free Hub still comes out with a hard copy magazine, but yeah, that's pretty much done, which I guess nothing really replaces that either. It's like you can get a photo on the front page of Pink Bike, but it's not really the same thing.
No, I mean, back then, photos really mattered. I mean, you went out to shoot photos. It wasn't like the photographer was there just to get the stuff when he could. You know, it's like he might have been big part of the shoot and the video guy might not have been as big of a part of the shoot because people needed photos.
Yeah, for sure, which is crazy. Like, yeah, that has completely changed. I wish it was still like that. Shooting photos is a lot easier in mountain biking than shooting a video. It seems like, yeah, you're like literally done in half the time. You just capture one little moment and you're good. So yeah, it's kind of crazy how much it has changed over the last like 10 years even.
And then even with personal projects, when you're doing one, you're saying they're shrinking in time and stuff. But I would also think when you're doing them and you get somebody to invest and create a project with you, first you have to deliver for those people. But when you're doing a project that's all bass, like you're putting a spotlight on your head for every pro and every peer of yours to watch. Does that put even more pressure on your head knowing that this personal project everybody's going to see and be like, did Bass deliver or not?
I don't know. I never really like I could see how people might get like feel a bit of pressure with that, but I weirdly never really feel too much pressure in video projects. I think I don't know, they're almost kind of like the relaxing part of my career. Like the racing is so much more stressful and so much more high pressure that yeah, doing a video project, I don't know, mate. Yeah, I just never really worried too much, I guess, what other people thought.
Well, that's rad, man. Well, I'm getting way ahead of myself. And we'll start with you were born in the US and then you lived in the Netherlands for 16 years and then you moved to Canada. Do you have 3 passports?
I do, yeah. Although I have no idea where my Dutch passport is.
Okay.
So two, maybe three. Yeah.
And so you've got a brother, Tom. You have parents who grew up around dirt bikes and bikes their whole lives. So you were kind of born to be on a bike. When you were born, is it straight into BMX? Is it a dirt bike or how did that work?
It never, or not never, not until later it became like a competitive thing. We kind of just rode our bikes in my parents' backyard, which they like had a little bit of land. So we were able to like build some jumps and stuff like that. And that's how it was for quite a long time. Like I think Tom and I started riding or like racing BMX when we were 14, maybe. And I think we got dirt bikes just before that. So we raced dirt bikes a tiny bit, like not much of that. And then we got pretty into the BMX thing before we moved to Canada, because obviously there's no mountains in Holland. And then, yeah, it just like kind of transitioned to mountain biking once we got here. But there was always bikes around and like competition was always like a huge thing in our family. But it really didn't start until a little bit later in life.
And race culture is kind of a big deal in Europe compared to the US, I feel like overall. Was like even BMX racing as a kid a bigger deal than it is here?
I think, yeah, the level was super high. Like a lot of the kids that we raced with turned out to be like Olympic champions and like world champions and yeah, really, really good racers. But it's almost, I don't know, it's at the lower level when you're younger, it's almost like it feels a little bit more humble. Like nobody has sponsors because the industry is so far away. Yeah, I don't know. It was like pretty humble, but at the same time, like at a very high level, which is kind of best of both worlds. Like we were getting beat constantly, but turns out the people that were beating us actually were insanely good. So
So
yeah,
it's
it was,
just good, clean fun over there without a thought of anything more than just riding your bike and maybe getting a trophy over the weekends. Where here, like kids have us aspirations of being in the industry because it's all in their face.
yeah, maybe. And I mean, I think it probably was there. And maybe I was a bit more oblivious to it when I was younger too. Like when I raced BMX, I didn't even realize that people did sprints or went to the gym because I was like, whatever, 15 and I just only rode my bike. And I'm so happy that it was like that because you do see kids now, they're like 9 years old and they're like hitting sprints in the parking lot. It's like, oh man, that's going to probably take the fun out of this pretty quick. Like you might be fast as a kid, but yeah, I feel like I'm so glad that like our parents were never pushy or anything. They literally didn't care if we did this. Like they never thought we were going to be doing this for a living. So yeah, I'm happy that it was just purely for fun when we were kids. And yeah, we just rode our bikes a ton.
And you move here when you're 16 years old. So that's like a prime time to like, you already have your life established. You probably have all your friends and everything's going whichever direction. I don't know how it's going for you, but I would think you've got a lot of things in order. And were you bummed when you found out you're moving?
No, no, I was actually super stoked. It was harder than I thought it was going to be. Like I was all, yeah, I just was super excited about it because I mean, Canada is just such a cool place and you can do so much more fun stuff. The stuff that we were into when we were younger, anyways, like dirt bikes and mountain bikes and all that stuff. So I was super stoked. Then it was a bit of a wake up call. Like, I don't know, like we could speak English, but it wasn't super fluent. So like even that was kind of crazy. Like going to school, you're like, oh shit, like I don't even know how to like crack a joke.
And it sounds like you're not like fully the most extroverted guy anyway when you came over here, at least. So without the language barrier, does that like make it doubly as hard to do that?
Yeah, yeah, probably. Yeah, I'm not super outgoing. I kind of keep to myself anyway. So yeah, it took a little bit to kind of establish a friend crew, but biking again was like great for that. So yeah, without biking, it probably would have been a lot harder, but the biking community is pretty awesome and super welcoming too, which is great.
I mean, if you're good on a bike, you can go anywhere in the world and make friends, I would think, just finding a session with people. And eventually, all the different times that you've done that in your life and everywhere that you've gone, like you have a couch or a room to sleep in anywhere you want in the world with just a phone call every city you go to, I would think.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty nuts. That's one of the cooler things. It's just like yeah, knowing people all over the world now and having spent time in lots of different places. And yeah, it's pretty nuts. It's super cool how that happens. And I feel like I've gotten to see the world in a pretty unique way. When you're traveling and you actually know people that are from the area, it kind of, yeah, brings a whole nother layer to the experience, which has been so cool. And I feel like at like middle of my career, like race time, I didn't really appreciate it that much, but looking back at some of those times now is, yeah, it's pretty cool.
I mean, it's nice when people know that you're coming in town, even if you don't know them. They're going to pick you up at the airport. They're going to take you to like their local wherever to eat that they think is awesome. Then they're probably going to have friends organized to have a couple beers with you and get to meet you. And then they're going to show you their best spots because like you're in town. And that happens everywhere you go, I would think.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, it's honestly been pretty awesome. Like, yeah, I definitely have like gotten to ride some pretty cool spots and yeah, met some awesome people and like yeah, in like New Zealand, I have like a second family over there, the Butterworths. They always take care of me over there when when I'm over. It's super super cool.
It's time for my first sponsor break, and I'm going to start out with Liquid Force. And not only are they back supporting the podcast, but this summer, they're bringing back the most important party and event in wakeboarding. That's right, Brostock is back, and the contest features the best riders in the world. You know what's more fun than watching the pros ride? Riding with them. And you can ride with the Liquid Force pros like Daniel Grant, Claudia Pagini, and Gunther Oka at a local lake or cable park near you at their Ride with the Pro Tour. And while Liquid Force is doing all these great things to build community on the water, they're also on the forefront of product innovation. And if you're a foil frother, you're going to want to check out the new FuseLock foil system. Wake surfers are going to love the all-new Ace and Synchro offerings. And the 2025 line features fresh boards, rad graphics, and more comp vest colorways than ever before. Park to boat to foil, Liquid Force has gear for every rider type, whether it's boat, cable, foil, or surf. To find out more about the events and the products, head on over to liquidforce.com. And when you see something you like, put it in your cart, and when you check out, enter the code POWELL15, that's all caps with no spaces, and you will save 15% off your order. Liquid Force, feel the pull. Next up, it's Elan Skis. And Elan doesn't need to support this podcast in the summertime. I've said that every summer. But they do it because they understand the importance of cultivating the stories that make the snow industry what it is. But if you haven't noticed, while they've always been big in Europe, Elan has built a growing cult following here in the States. It all started with the still thriving ripstick revolution that made skiing easier and more fun for anyone that tried them. That same idea, easier and more fun, is what they delivered to their Playmaker series of twin tips. How does Elan deliver a better ski experience? Well, it's all about using the best materials known to man. And that's no joke. This is the same Elan that's known for building award-winning luxury yachts, so they never cut corners. And the fit and finish is better than anything else on the ski wall. Seriously, if you pick one up and you look at the edges and you see those seams of glue on all the different skis, look at Elan's and you're going to see a seamless pairing because they do take that additional time to pay that attention to detail, and it's awesome. And it makes everyone feel like they're making pro-level turns. And that's what skiing is all about, that feeling. So remember, before you buy your next pair of skis, demo a pair of Elan's, or just head on over to elanskis.com, pick a pair, and elevate your skiing experience. My final sponsor this round is Best Day Brewing. And while I love the taste of a good beer, I don't always need the alcohol. I mean, my life revolves around driving my kid places, running errands, interviewing people, managing my family, and all of these things I do better when I don't have a head full of alcohol. That's where Best Day comes in. These days, if I'm not partying, I'm still having beers, and those beers are from the award-winning Best Day Brewery. And there are a lot of NA beers out there right now, but none taste as good as Best Day. I love the hazy IPA, the Kolsch that you can get on all Alaska airline flights, and everyone seems to like the Electro Lime Cerveza. I could go on and on as they have so many flavors, and I love them all. The beauty of Best Day is that they average about 60 calories and they won't get you in trouble. And pro tip, if you're partying, try to mix in a Best Day for every alcoholic beverage you have, and it will extend your night. It does it for me, and it keeps me from doing anything stupid. To have your best day or night ever, head on over to bestdaybrewing.com. If you make that order over $50, we'll also throw in free shipping. Those are my sponsors. Now let's jump back into the podcast. So does the shift from BMX racing happen when you get to Canada? Is it like you guys move over there and then you see the mountains and it's all the stuff that you've seen in magazines and you're like, all right, we don't really need to race in circles anymore?
Yeah, a little bit. I think when we moved, it was still kind of the plan to keep racing BMX. We were like pretty into it. And then honestly, the tracks here weren't quite to the same level that they were back in Europe. And they were kind of like a lot more mellow and not as technical, and which kind of made us both be a little bit more over it, I think. And then like having the mountains and like riding the bike park and stuff just took over pretty quickly. So then, yeah, I think we maybe raced BMX for like the fall that we were here. And then the next spring, we like fully switched to racing downhill.
It sounds like you guys saved all of your money, buy an expensive mountain bike, and then can you describe the buzzkill of breaking the most expensive toy you've ever had in your life?
Yeah, that was rough. I like sold shoes in Holland for like an entire year to afford this bike. And to be fair, I think like, yes, it did crack, but it also was like Tom and I were like, holy crap, like this thing has so much suspension. You can jump off of anything on this bike. So we were finding anything to jump this thing off of, and it totally makes sense that they cracked.
And you have
But it was
16-year-old
rough.
bones, so it doesn't matter to you guys.
No, not at all. It was like, yeah, there's no way that I would jump off of some of the stuff we probably did the first day that we got those bikes. Yeah, that was a little bit of a reality check. Like I figured, I think it was like 3 grand that I spent on that bike. And I was like, this has to be the best piece of equipment that you could own. Little did I know. Bikes are pretty expensive, and that was probably like a pretty like low end bike.
But just heartbreaking for the kid, the 16-year-old that spent 3 grand on this bike, or 17-year-old. And then you go out and in like 2 days, you have a broken frame. And given you were taken care of and everything was good, but it's just
Yeah.
like that moment when it broke, it just has to be like, oh my God,
Yeah.
what am I going to do?
It sucked. I was like, well, I guess that's that. Back to the BMX. But no, luckily we did get taken care of. I believe it didn't take long at all before we had new bikes. And then I feel like we also realized that, yeah, they weren't indestructible, and you couldn't just go jumping off of retaining walls and things like that.
And then you guys get new bikes and you start racing. I think you did the Garbanzo downhill and Whistler as a junior. You do pretty well there. Then you go to win the first BC Cup event in Kamloops. So out of the gate, you must have been like, well, I've got this shit. Like I'm only done a couple events and I'm already winning them.
Yeah, yeah, it was pretty funny going to, yeah, I think it was, yeah, the BC Cup at the Kamloops Bike Ranch, which is like a super BMXy track. So yeah, I came out, won that race, and I was like, damn, I must be pretty good at downhill. And then the next race was like an actual downhill race, and I think I got absolutely smoked. So it was a good reality check. It was good while it lasted, though. I thought it was hot shit for like a good like 5 days there.
So in that time when you had gotten done with BMX racing, just the way you were able to suck up transitions and be able to get every inch of speed in a transition-like environment, that's why you crushed that one. But then when it got to be a real downhill, you're like, oh shit, it's a lot different.
Yeah, yeah. I just didn't have the skills on like a super rocky technical. Like I think that second race that we did was like pretty wet and like never really ridden downhill in the mud. So yeah, it was just like a huge change in like what you needed to actually be able to ride one of those tracks. So yeah, it was a bit of a reality check, but it was cool. Those days were so fun, just like going to those races, like not really knowing what you're doing and figuring it out on the fly. And yeah, it was super fun.
And from there, I talked to Tom. We did a podcast, and he mentioned that you guys got on transition bikes, and it was their development team. But when he said it, he mentioned something about applying. What does that even mean? Did you guys have to do an application and send a video and shit like that?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. So I think we maybe the first year that we rode for transition, we just applied for like the grassroots program, which was, yeah, just like you apply online and I think you get a discount on bikes. So that was kind of how we got introduced to them. And then we had a friend, Harrison Mendel. He's now actually a really good filmer. He was riding for them at the time as well, and he kind of knew them. So I think we did like a trip over there and met them, and yeah, somehow we kind of got onto this development team and did like all the Northwest Cups with them. And yeah, that was awesome. That was just like great to learn and like learn how to race properly and kind of how to like do a whole race weekend, because we were definitely groms and probably doing a lot of things pretty wrong. So yeah, it was awesome.
And then when you think about yours and Tom's styles of riding, I mean, they're different, especially nowadays. But Like people talk about you. I mean, you're like kind of your Venn diagram is like racer, free rider. You're like right in the middle. You do everything, but it's all about like your smooth signature style. And people talk about that. Tom's known for his like rampage defining stunts and going absolutely fucking huge. But is that like little brother syndrome or older brother syndrome? Or like if you guys are racing, you always have to beat Tom because you're the older brother, but then he has to find something that he's better at that's different. And that's what makes him focus on different things on a bike.
I don't know. He was good at racing too, to be honest. I think he did just like naturally get drawn to the whole free ride side of it. And he was like the way he is at Rampage, he was also kind of like that racing. Like he was
Oh,
pretty
nothing.
friendly. Yeah, yeah. He would win or he would crash for sure. And then I think the slopestyle side kind of he gravitated towards that and yeah, obviously killed it with that. But it was super fun racing together and we're super, super competitive. But I think we've just been so competitive all our lives that I don't know, it never got weird or anything. Like I think we're just like super comfy being like ultra competitive with each other. I think that's kind of a cool skill to learn as well.
Are you sharing beta and kind of working together to try to help each other out with different things? Or is it separate on race day? Or how does that work in the dynamic between you two when you guys are racing against each other and it mattered?
Yeah, when we raced against each other, we didn't share anything. It was, yeah, like we would literally just like walk the track together, but in complete silence. And it was, I like think back on that. It's so funny too, because they're like, I don't know, the Northwest Cup is like pretty just like chill, but like we would do anything to beat each other. So yeah, we didn't share all that much. Like obviously now we share as much as we can and help each other out as much as we can. But back then it was like full on we're competing against each other, which is yeah, it's so funny to think back on now.
And by 2012, I think that's when you do your first pro downhill at Crankworks. But, you know, in skateboarding, when people do or they become pro, they're like turned pro by their brand. And in other sports, like you have to get points and then you can kind of get to the next level. How do you become pro in biking like that? How do you move from expert to the pro category?
So like in racing, it's just like a points thing, I think, like which is actually super easy to be. It's a very different thing to be racing in the pro men's category versus being actually like a professional mountain biker. So I think that title or like whatever you want to call it doesn't have too much to do with it. I guess it's just like, yeah, being a pro mountain biker is just strictly like, can you make a living off of this or not?
Okay. But I mean, like in a lot of your races, when I look at results, it's like half the time you're racing elite, half the time you're racing pro. Why?
Oh, that's just the same thing. I think, yeah, some events they'll call it pro men, some events they'll call it elite men. But yeah, they're one and the same.
Okay. That would have made a lot of difference. Had I known that earlier, it would have shifted my questions because I would have been like, wow, you didn't win a lot on this lower category than this higher category. But whatever. We're not going to talk about wins and losses. Based on that, you won a lot more than I thought you won. But, you know, the thing with racing is, first, it's super competitive. Like when you get in the start gate, are you competing against yourself? Are you thinking about anybody else? I mean, I guess it's all against yourself, right?
Yeah, yeah, it is all against yourself for sure. And yeah, you try not to think about other people. And especially in like events like slalom where there is somebody next to you that you're physically racing, you still try to just focus on what you need to do and what you need to execute. But yeah, it's tough. It's harder than you'd think to not be like, especially if you know somebody's riding fast, you're like, you'll hit a corner and you'll be like, oh, I wonder if they hit it that good. Or, or you'll be like sprinting and you're like, oh, like hopefully they're not sprinting harder than I am kind of thing. Like, keeping that inner dialogue under control has always been kind of a tough thing for me in race runs. I think the race runs where I'm just not thinking about anything is usually the ones that I end up doing pretty well in.
And, you know, one thing that's crazy about your life in the race world is from 2012 on, pretty much. I mean, 2013, it starts growing and growing. But are you pretty much living out of a suitcase and have an event every weekend from maybe April to September almost?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's been pretty crazy. And then like you kind of do that throughout the summer. And then I think maybe in 2016, I started going to New Zealand for the winters. So I pretty much, yeah, race all summer, be in New Zealand in the winter, and then be home like early spring and late fall kind of thing. So yeah, lots and lots of travel, which has been, again, awesome. But yeah, it's definitely a lot, especially traveling with bikes is not the most convenient thing at times.
Dude, I can imagine it's got to totally suck. It's expensive. they're probably always breaking stuff on your bikes because they're not. I mean, what's the worst you've heard of or you've seen of like them mangling a bike?
I've been pretty lucky myself. I had one time they, I guess, just threw out my bike box and put my bike in a plastic bag. And it literally just showed up in a plastic bag with a rope tied around all of it. And it was just like all these loose parts like clanging together, which was a little gnarly to see. But they didn't lose anything. I mean, the wildest one is I think I heard of somebody who dropped off their bike and then got to wherever they were going and the bike didn't make it. Like the bike never made it. And then eventually they found it on eBay. And like the people at the airport had just taken it and put it on eBay.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, that's wild. But I've never heard anything else like that. But yeah, lots of like little parts getting broken and whatnot. And then lots of people getting charged like crazy. Air Canada is usually very good with bikes. So I always travel with them so I don't get charged too bad or don't get charged at all anymore, which is nice. But yeah, there's a lot of wild traveling stories for sure.
And what's the worst traveling story that you've had, or the most fun traveling story, or the wildest travel story? Let's get one out there if you say there's a lot of wild travel stories.
I was in a plane that I'm pretty sure almost crashed in South Africa. Like it was like a super gnarly storm that came in and it was like, yeah, pretty wild. Like we were coming in all sideways into the landing strip and then the plane actually wasn't able to land. So we had to like do like the landing where it literally like touches down and takes back off again. And then we were just like still like going all crazy sideways and stuff. And I just remember I had my helmet bag in between my legs and I just remember thinking like, should I put on my helmet? Like I was like, I would look like the biggest idiot, but imagine this plane crashes and there's like a photo of some guy with a massive concussion like stumbling out of the airplane with a full face helmet on. Yeah, I obviously didn't put it on, but that was pretty crazy. I was like, damn, I don't know what's going to happen here. It was probably like more chill than I thought it was, but yeah, that was super, super loose. I was pretty happy to be on the ground after that one.
Yeah, it's amazing. Were people like crying and stuff in one of those
Oh
flights?
yeah. Yeah, it was like full panic in the airplane, which is, yeah, it was gnarly. Like I never really experienced anything like that.
I had one of those experiences as well. I won't tell the story, but sometimes even when I tell it, I get like all excited because it was so crazy. But we lived through it, so that was great. Thinking of other things that are crazy, Rampage is like the craziest thing in action sports, in my opinion. And you know, while you're a racer as well, it's like you have your toes in just about everything. How did you find out you're in Rampage in 2015?
So the year before I really wanted to get in. So I like put a video together and kind of like did the whole thing to try and get in and I didn't get in that year. But then yeah, somehow it was on the radar enough for them to invite me to the event and yeah, that was super cool. I mean, the 2015 one was like for sure the only one that I had fun at because then it just got way too gnarly after that. But yeah, what a crazy event. I agree. I think it's by far the gnarliest event that's out there.
Why was 2015 so different? I mean, did the ante get raised in 2016 to a point that was way different than 2015?
No, probably not. I think it was just like personally. So in 2015, they still actually had qualifying. So you had to do like all the dig days. And then there was like, I forget how many people were pre qualified. And then the people that got like a wild card entry, like myself, they had to qualify for the finals still. So it was like, okay, if I don't make it in, then we literally did all this digging for nothing. Like I won't even be on the live feed or anything.
Right.
So luckily I qualified. That was my only goal. And then I was just like sick. Like I'm just stoked. I have like a line that I feel comfortable riding and I don't need to go crazy in the finals. That's all I came here for. And it was my first time. You just don't have a lot of expectation on yourself. And then in 2017, I came back and I was like, okay, I want to like do well. And that's when it just becomes a whole nother game. And for sure things do get stepped up a lot. And especially now, it's like completely different from what it was then. Like right now, you won't do well unless you're doing massive tricks. And back then you could somewhat get away with riding some really gnarly, steep technical stuff. And like you're probably not winning the event, but you could still like somewhat compete with the guys that were doing some tricks. But now obviously the tricks like they've gotten crazy.
That's why Fair Claw's always in like eighth or ninth, just because the tricks are always going to trump that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and like as much as people want to hate on it, I don't know, like, are you really going to score somebody that hits a drop and does a straight air the same as somebody that's doing a flat drop or, yeah, like a backflip off of it? It's like, yeah, you can't really, I don't know. It's just kind of the natural progression of the event. And
Yeah.
yeah, like, as I'm saying it, it probably would be easy to think that I'm hating on the fact that it is more trick oriented, but I just think that's kind of the way that event would have had to go. Like, you can only go so big, and I think, I don't know, I enjoy watching tricks. I think it's cool to watch people hucking big flips and threes and front flips off of drops. Like, yeah, I think it's such a cool event to watch.
It's time for my second round of sponsors, and I'm going to start things out with outdoor research. I've been using OR products since I moved to Seattle almost 25 years ago because they outperform everything on the market. I mean, they build their products to perform in the wet and soggy cold weather of the Pacific Northwest. And when you live where we do, you need to have the best in class. While OR has always been known for building industry-leading gear for mountaineers, skiers, and snowboarders, they've gone all in on an award-winning bike line that FreeHub describes as outdoor research has once again raised the bar, offering riding gear that's not just functional but also stylish and durable. That meticulous design and thoughtful engineering of the Freewheel collection have the power to transform the mountain biking experience. So high praise, and Outdoor Research is doing a lot of things on the athlete side. While they launched with an incredible team, they had the Van Steenbergen brothers, Georgia Astley. This year, they've added Casey Brown, Carson Storch, and others. And between the athletes and the events they support, while OR might be new to the bike world, they've always lived it, and there's not many brands doing what OR is doing in the world of bike. To see the new products and what the hype is all about, head on over to outdoorresearch.com. My final sponsor is Stanley, the iconic Northwest brand that invented the category of keeping things hot and cold over 100 years ago. You remember Stanley from your grandfather's green thermos that kept his coffee hot forever when he took you out on adventures. Well, Stanley still makes that bottle and so much more. Think tumblers, water bottles, barware, camping utensils, coolers, vacuum bottles. There really is something for everyone at Stanley. And between the unique colors and the collaborations that Stanley's doing, there really is something for everyone in the Stanley line. And they're not going to gouge you with crazy prices. Stanley is the originator, and they pride themselves on providing you and me with the best products at the best value. And that value gets even better when you shop with my code. To use it, head on over to stanley1913.com, go shopping, and buy a ton of stuff because, like I said, this code is 30% off. It's the best deal that Stanley offers. And when you check out, enter the code capital POWELL. That's Powell 2025. So no spaces in between that. Capital POWELL 2025. That's where you get your code. Thank you very much for the support, Stanley. They make the best gear in the world. You've seen them everywhere. And if you don't have one, you definitely need one. Those are my sponsors. Now let's jump back into the podcast. It is an insane event to watch, especially when you're there and you're seeing it in person. And your brother, when you talk about stepping it up, he's like the guy who keeps raising the level, it seems like, of just risk at the event. When you're in there first for yourself, I mean, I would think the first year it's excitement. After the first year, is it more excitement or nervousness?
Oh, it's for sure more nervousness. Like, so the second year I did it, I was like kind of hating my life, but like got through it. And then the third year, I actually ended up getting hurt. But I was just like, I just remember sitting at the top being like, what am I doing here? Like, this is too much. Like, I'd rather do anything else. I'd rather be an accountant than sit here and do Rampage again. So I'm happy to not be doing that event anymore, but I'm also super stoked that I did do it. And yeah, it's a cool thing to be able to say you've done for sure.
But I mean, it's like for a dude like yourself who puts yourself in risky situations on a daily basis, you would rather be an accountant than put yourself in that situation because the consequences are so severe.
Yeah. It's just like everything about it. Because usually, yeah, you can hit gnarly stuff. Like there's places with big jumps, but oftentimes you either have somebody else there to figure it out with you or somebody has already hit it. Whereas this stuff, you're building it all by yourself a lot of the time. Then when it comes time to try it, there's nothing to really warm up on. So you're just going straight to like literally the gnarliest thing you've ever ridden in your life. And then you're by yourself with like your dig crew, which like sometimes they can kind of help, but ultimately it's all on you to figure out the speed for a lot of these things. And because it is so steep, a lot of the takeoffs are completely blind. which is also a very scary thing. You just see the valley floor. You're like, cool, I'm just going to ride off of this cliff at hopefully the right speed in hopefully the right direction because you're building everything by hand, so you can't build everything like super wide. Yeah, it's just a nuts event, and you're tired from digging for like a week straight, and you probably haven't touched your bike. Like, yeah, and so much respect to all the guys that are still and girls now that are out there pushing it. It's no joke. Like, it is such a crazy event.
That event's a well-oiled machine of like the highest caliber for action sports. And in terms of events you've been in other than Rampage, what's the all-around best, like organized event, like structure, everything?
Huh, that's an interesting question. Well, obviously, World Cups are like super, super well organized and they're like a crazy, it's like a whole nother level of professionalism, I guess. I'd say, I mean, the Crankworks series is obviously super dialed. Like they've been doing it for a long time, and that's kind of been my major race series that I followed over my career. So it's like that one in the sense of like I just know everybody super well, and it's like super easy in that way. Like if there's something wrong, I know who to go to, and I can quickly send them a text or whatever. So that was super easy there. And then I did Hardline in 2017, which that was a super fun event then because it was like, and I'm sure it's still fun now, but it was still pretty new then. And it was like, yeah, people were just kind of having a good time. And like, yeah, you're like riding a gnarly track, but I don't know, nobody seemed to be too serious. And then it came time to race and you just do your race run kind of thing. So yeah, there's been a lot of different kinds of events and all of them kind of have their own parts that are super dialed and super fun and whatnot. So yeah.
Well, we're not going to talk about too many of events or races. The one I am going to talk about is I think your first big pro win. It's like the downhill in Whistler. And the reason I'm going to bring it up is I think you have the fastest time of the day, but you had to wait like 30 different people to figure out if you were going to win. Do you think you have any chance whatsoever of winning?
No, I didn't really. I think the year before, I think I ended up like 15th in that race. I remember actually before the race, because it was sponsored, the race was sponsored by Fox at the time, and I was sponsored by Fox then. So they did an interview with me just because I was on Fox, like nothing to do with my maybe being able to win it. And I remember them asking like what my goal was, and I was like, oh yeah, like top 10, be pretty cool. And then, yeah, obviously came down fastest. And I was the first one in the live broadcast, which they probably only put me in the live broadcast because I was riding for Fox. And then, yeah, I had to sit there for probably like an hour and a bit, just waiting for people to come down, which is, yeah, it was pretty crazy. And like some massive names. And I was like, why am I beating all these guys? And like, obviously, yeah, I wasn't like doing shitty in races that year. But yeah, that was a huge step up in competition for me. And that was sick. That was probably still one of my favorite moments of racing.
I mean, when you win an event like that, does it all of a sudden give you like another level of confidence? Like, oh, I can win. Like maybe if I do that interview next time, it's going to be, I'm going to get on the podium because I'm not thinking 10th place anymore because I know I can win something.
Yeah, for sure. I think a little bit of it was like I was just almost confused for a while. I was like, how did I like all of a sudden get way better at it? But yeah, no, for sure. Like you don't think of like 10th place as being good anymore for sure. And you're just like, okay, now it's time to start doing better. But I'd say it still took me a little bit longer than after that race to really like figure out the kind of winning formula of training and all that stuff. So yeah, I think that one obviously wasn't a fluke, but it kind of was at the same time.
Yeah, you don't start crushing it from there. But that was
Mm.
your first big win. I think you had a podium the week before. So it was like you had some momentum there and it just showed that you could do it and you did pretty well. And then like the next 2 years, you start doing better and better. And then it's like you're on fire and crushing it. And that's probably when diet and exercise and all the stuff that I don't like to talk about comes into it. So we won't talk about any of that stuff. But when you think about it, like you're one of the style guys in riding. Like people love to watch you ride. And that's kind of how you got seen at first, was just through the internet and putting together videos. So it's like you don't have to win races to have a career. I mean, how long do you want to keep on racing? Or do you see yourself in the future just shifting over to content and seeing how long you can ride that out?
I'll probably always be racing at least a little bit. I don't know. I'm too competitive of a person to like fully hang that up. I've definitely already shifted a little bit more towards like the content side. Like in the past, it was definitely like fully focused on Crankworks, and that's all that I really cared about winning was Crankworks, and video projects and stuff would kind of get pushed to the side. Whereas now, kind of trying to jump on opportunities with video projects and things like that, and doing more media stuff. So it's like brought the fun back to competing a little bit more too. But yeah, I probably won't ever fully stop competing. Like I would love to be the guy in like Masters at some point, just like still racing. And yeah, I don't know. It'll probably never go away.
What's cool about biking is that you can do that. You can race a little bit, even though that's kind of where you were known for. And then you can create content, which you're also known for, and you can probably still get paid. But how long can you do that for, you think?
I mean, some people do it really well for really long. I don't know if I need to be like finding out exactly like how long I want to do it for. I'd love to like do it really well while I can. And then I think if the quality of my work goes down substantially, then it's time to figure something else out. But yeah, some people have done a really good job at like putting their careers into their 50s, which is amazing. It's amazing that like mountain biking offers a career to that age, which not a lot of other professional sports do, I would imagine. So yeah, it can go pretty long, but I think I want to do it really well while I can, and then I'll be out.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
Right now, I'm starting this eyewear business, so I'm hoping that that kind of continues to grow, and then I really like coaching people. I'd love to do that at like a higher level, like writing programs for people and kind of figuring out like how to get the last few tenths of seconds out of a race. That's something that I would be stoked to do more of. And then trail building, like building tracks would be another cool one to do. I'd love to be building some race tracks and stuff like that. So yeah, plenty of cool stuff. For
Yeah,
the
man, it
future.
sounds like you've got a roadmap to success in many different avenues. They all involve two wheels, which is pretty great. At this point in the podcast, it's time for something that I call inappropriate questions. And
All right.
this is where I get someone that you know to ask three questions, and they can be anything. And I was able to get one of the most exciting riders out there today, a guy known for dropping hammers in the big mountains, and a guy known for going, and this guy that I'm talking about is known for going big, happens to be your little brother, Tom Van Steenbergen. And are you ready for question number one from Tom?
Oh, I don't know. We'll see.
Okay, I've got to cue it up real quick. So I'm going to find my voice recorder. I found it. And here we go.
First question for Bass is, as an older brother, if your younger brother ever misbehaved and snuck out to party with his friends in high school, would you ever snitch on him? And why would you do that if you would do that? That's my first question, Bass.
There you go.
Yeah, absolutely. I would still snitch on him too. He was a little shit and well, he became a pro mountain biker. So I think if he would have partied more, probably wouldn't have done as well as he did. So he can suck it.
Was he more the party guy and you more the serious guy?
Yeah, 100%. He was definitely a little bit more loose, which is funny because now he doesn't drink or anything. But yeah, he was definitely, I don't know, he was just classic younger brother.
And back
And
then, it sounds like, too, he didn't want to bike as much as you. He wanted to play a shitload of video games, and you're like, dude, get off the couch. We're biking.
yeah, exactly. So it is funny thinking back on it. I'm like, why did I feel the responsibility in a way to get him off the couch and do that stuff with me? I think it was also just like I wanted my younger brother to be doing the stuff with me. So I pressured him to keep doing it. So yeah, I don't know. I think he turned out pretty okay. I'm sure he doesn't really regret not partying more.
Yeah, totally. He can party for the rest of his life at some point. It doesn't need to happen right now.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to question number two.
Second question for Bass is, would you rather eat shit or do a backflip to dirt on your bike? And by eating shit, I mean eating literal poop.
There you go. I mean, speak for
Oh,
itself.
I mean, honestly, it would be a toss up. There's a lot of things that I would rather do than backflip to dirt on a mountain bike. I don't know why. I can do it fine on an airbag or a mulch jump, But when it came to doing it to dirt, I was just the biggest pussy. Like, yeah, I mean, I would probably rather do a backflip than eat literal shit, but I do hate doing tricks. I also like weirdly really suck at doing tricks. Like I'll practice a simple trick and I still won't be able to do it like weeks later. So yeah, got me on that one, Tom.
Is it like you can make a berm, just making a turn look really, really good, but any kind of trick you can't put any style to it at all?
No, not really. I don't know, like something to do with like taking limbs off the bike and or even like 360s, like I can somewhat do them, but and maybe it's just like me not really caring about it when I was younger, so I never really like developed that when I was younger. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I just suck at tricks.
All right, we're going to go with his final inappropriate question, and here it is.
Third question. What would you rate your carpentry skills at? 0 to 100. And can you give us some examples and maybe show some pictures of some of your proudest carpentry work? Mainly referring to the cargo trailer that you transformed into a camper.
Well, I would say my carpentry skills have drastically improved since the trailer that I converted to a camper. I will say that my whole family bullies me about my carpentry skills in that trailer, and I don't remember them to be as bad as they all said it was, which that's probably on me. But I'd say they've come a long way. Maybe they're not quite up to Tom's level because he's building ramps out there and stuff, but he's been to my house. I've done some decent carpentry work, I'd say. So we've come a long way.
That's the big family joke, though, is like, remember when he tried to build that trailer?
It comes up once every couple months for sure. Yeah. And I will say there was some janky stuff going on in there, but I did sleep in there for quite a few nights and it was all good and it never fell apart. So I guess it wasn't too bad.
I am going to ask you for some pictures that you can send me at mike@thepowellmovement.com. So I might as well do it right in the podcast. And I'd need a headshot and some action shots, maybe some video if you have one. But I would also love to get a picture of that janky kind of trailer that you have, just so we can show the public and shut your family up because they're teasing you about your skills. And I'm sure this thing looks amazing. I'm questioning it as well, but I'm just saying that because you're on the line right now. Either way, that's our podcast, and that's Inappropriate Questions as well. And looking at your life and times, it's like you had this bloodline where you were destined to do something on two wheels, but you weren't handed anything. It was like you had to blaze your own path in Holland, and then you had to do that again in Canada, and then you had to do it again just on the tour, traveling all over the world. And two wheels have taken you everywhere. You've seen more than you could possibly imagine because of biking, and it's pretty amazing that you were able to do that, and you're still continuing to do it. I look forward to see what's next for you. I thank you for telling your story, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you. That was pretty nice to listen to. I feel like, yeah, been pretty lucky. So thanks so much for having me on. It was awesome chatting, and I'll be sure to send some photos of my fine carpentry work as well.
So that was time with Bas van Steenbergen, and what a nice, chill dude Bas is. He's one of those guys that doesn't have an over-the-top, outgoing personality. He just makes things happen on his bike, and he makes it look so good that everybody wants to watch what he's doing. And the beauty of Bas is that he can do it from both sides. He's a free rider, he's a racer, and he's found success everywhere that he's ridden his bike. It's a great story. I would have a more profound outro, but as you know, I've got so much shit going through my head that I'm just trying to get through these intros and outros. That's what I'm doing here with Bas. He was an awesome guy to talk to, and it's always fun to run into him like I did at OR because he's fun to chat with in person as well. So that's Bas van Steenbergen. Look out for him all over the world on his bike. That's the podcast for this week. At this point, I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank you for reviewing me wherever you listen. And I really, really want you to support the amazing sponsors who make this podcast happen. Without them, I wouldn't put out a show every week. And they are Stanley, Outdoor Research, Elan Skis, Best Day Brewing, and Liquid Force. Have a great week, everyone.